Hello there, ladies and gents. Welcome to one more video. And in today's video, I want to tell you a little story about debilitating perfectionism. Then I want to ask you a couple of questions. Well, first of all, let's talk about perfectionism. What is perfectionism? Basically, perfectionism is this belief that you are not and you will never be good enough. It's this belief that no matter what you do, you're never going to be worthy, you're never going to be valuable enough, you're never going to be loved enough. It's simply this scarcity mentality that goes on forever, and it comes with a lot of strife, because when there's perfectionism involved, there's a belief that you'll never be good enough, but there's also a tremendous amount of work that you're always doing to try to be better. So how does this happen? Sometimes you're obsessed with self-help, and you're always trying to make yourself better, and the underlying belief is that if one day you can just make yourself good enough, then you'll be happy. Really, oftentimes what this comes from is the belief that if we just worked on ourselves enough and behaved well enough, then eventually mommy would be happy with us, and if mommy was happy with us, then we could be happy with ourselves. Again, it's important to remember that what the mother-daughter relationship basically teaches the daughter is that she has permission to love herself. And we give ourselves that permission if her mom gives us that permission. If we feel that she's okay with us and with who we are, then we're like, it's okay to love myself then. But if we get a different message from her that no matter what we do, it's never going to be good enough for her, she's never going to be satisfied, then we also don't give ourselves permission to be happy with ourselves. So you can see how troubling that is, right? And how important it is to eventually give yourself the permission. So other things you might do if you're a perfectionist is abandon your dreams altogether. Yes, people who don't do anything are sometimes perfectionists, and that's because they're so scared of seeing themselves as less than perfect, of seeing themselves as failing, as making mistakes. Hey there, girl or guy, I don't know, I can't see from your picture. Someone just came on the live, guys, for whoever's seeing this on YouTube later on. So we're talking about perfectionism, and sometimes you're such a perfectionist that you simply don't even try because you're scared of seeing yourself as anything less than absolutely perfect. And sometimes you're one of those high-achieving perfectionists, and from the outside, people applaud you, and you're at the center of attention, and people think that you probably have great self-esteem, but really you feel that you're like this circus monkey, and you're performing and performing and performing, and it doesn't really matter how much outside or success or apparent success you achieve. You're just never going to be satisfied with yourself, and it's never going to be enough. All right. So the thing about this perfectionism is that underneath it all, there's a fear. And the fear is that if you get to know yourself, if you get to know your very core, you're going to find out that you really are trash. You really are just darkness. You really are that piece of, excuse the language, but that piece of shit your mom called you or whoever else called you. And we go through a great many lengths to avoid coming in contact with our core. And we can do this in a number of different ways. Maybe you have a really hard time just not doing anything. You have a hard time with solitude. You don't know how to be in your own company. Or maybe you can't sit still. You can't possibly for 30 minutes not do something. You have to always be on the go. Maybe you have a hard time meditating. All of these different things might indicate that you're having a hard time just actually sitting with yourself, because then you're going to have to be in touch with yourself. Boredom comes from this as well. The sensation that if you have nothing to do, you're going to be bored, right? And then as we avoid coming into contact with our core, this creates a huge problem for us, which is if you never give yourself the opportunity to actually get to know what is inside of you. What's at the very core? What are you made of? Are you really trash like they said you are? You have to go there and see with your own eyes. And if you're scared, then you're just going to live your life with the impression that you are trash. and living from that belief. And this is going to affect your choice of partners, your choice of friends, your choice of career, the choice of where you live, the environment you live in. It's going to affect everything because it's your core belief about yourself. So perfectionism, this whole idea that you have to fit a few criteria before you can accept yourself, is never going to allow you to come in contact with your core self. Because perfectionism does not allow you to see the parts of yourself that are broken, that are less than perfect. So I recommend a different system so that this can happen, so that you can feel safe to come in contact with yourself, with who you are, in, like, deep inside, that you're so scared of seeing. And the second system is a system where you're not trying to achieve any goal other than expression itself. Okay, how does this work? What I've discovered is that when you have a distorted self-image, and it is a distorted self-image, there's, that story about the elephant that gets tied to a little, like a chair when he's a baby in the circus, and the elephant is too small and he tries to break free, but he can't because the chair is bigger than him and he's just a baby elephant. So eventually he gives up because no matter what he does, it seems like he never gets any positive results, so why try at all? So he gives up. And he grows and grows and grows, and soon enough he's like this humongous elephant, but he's tied to that little chair, and he still believes that he is incapable of breaking free. This is what daughters and sons of narcissistic mothers do with their self-image. As a child, you were impotent. You were powerless, okay? And then you grow up believing that you're impotent, that you're powerless, that you're this trash. And you become this big adult, this being that is full of potential, and you still see yourself as that little baby elephant who gave up sees itself. So this is why our self-image is so distorted. So what I propose is that you give yourself an opportunity to just express yourself, not judging the outcome of what you're doing. And then I'm going to tell you a little personal story about how I managed to do this, the amazingly positive consequences that I had in my life, and how I'm seeing that my clients also do this and have amazing results. So basically, I noticed that because of our distorted self-image, we can never accurately assess our value or how important we are to other people. And until I got to the point where I allowed myself just expression without it having to be perfect, I was never able to put what I make out there to be able to get feedback from other people. And once I told myself, no, Tari, just express yourself. Don't judge if it's good or bad. Just put it out there. Once I gave myself the permission just to express myself, then positive feedback started coming back. And what I noticed is that when we stay in this tiny little space of not expressing ourselves, hey, Sylvia, when we stay in this tiny little space of not expressing ourselves, we never get to find out how valuable we are to other people. We never get to find out how important what we do is for the world. So I'm going to tell you a little story about debilitating perfectionism and creating the sacred space where I could simply express myself, and that eventually led to the discovery that, wait a second, there isn't only trash in here. There's light, and my light affects people positively. That's amazing. So I can love myself. There's light in the middle. So this is the story. A few years back, I'm a pole dancer. I pole dance as a hobby. I have a pole at home. And when I started pole dancing, I was pole dancing in a studio that is considered the best in Brazil and one of the best in the world. The 5-time Brazilian pole sport champion trained there, as well as the 3-time world champion. And they had been gymnasts and circus artists for like 10 years, 15 years. And I was this 30-year-old person who had never been an athlete, started to train with people that were so amazing. They were literally the best in the world. And I had all of these mother issues that I needed to deal with, right? And when I went there was a very similar dynamics. You know, there was our trainer and the girls, the athletes. And I did the same thing in that environment that I did in my family home. I tried desperately to get the approval of my trainer, who wasn't interested in me unless I could be perfect. And I just felt super intimidated with the perfection of other people there. And I was trying to be as strong as them, as acrobatic as them, as flexible as them. And I was trying to like get the titles and all of that. But really, all I wanted was to dance. When I close my eyes and I listen to music, I see choreographies in my head, and I just want to do those things. But there I couldn't. There I needed to focus on doing that super difficult move that's going to take me months to learn how to do. And then I need to put it in the choreography. And then I need to go and compete and show everybody and earn a title for my trainer and stuff. And I stayed in that environment for 3 years. And for 3 years, I wanted to give up. Every time I arrived at the pole studio, the sinking feeling in my heart took place, and I was like, oh God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be forcing myself to be this. And yet when I asked myself in silence, I asked myself, Tari, yeah, but should you give up? And I would always get the same answer back from my intuition, and the answer was, don't give up just yet. You haven't done what you were meant to do in pole dance. And so I didn't give up. So 1 year went by and I wanted to give up and I didn't. And 2 years went by and I wanted to give up and I didn't. And then 3 years went by and I wanted to give up and I didn't. And then I made a decision. I made the decision that I wasn't going to give up on pole dance, but I was going to give up on the dynamics that was going on in that studio. I left the studio. My little mini pole studio at home was set up. And I had a really hard time in the beginning trying to do what I really wanted, which was just dancing. Because every time I reached over to the handle to open up my pole dance studio door, and I walked in there in exactly the same way that I used to hear my mom's voice telling me stuff, that I wasn't good enough, that I was retarded, that I was this and that I was that. As I stepped into my pole dance studio, I could hear my trainer's voice saying, you have to be strong, you have to be the best, you have to be this, you have to be that. And all of the anxiety and the panic started setting in. And then the first 6 months, as those voices came up, and as I touched the pole and I tried to do certain acrobatic moves and I couldn't, because I would dissociate. The trauma of possibly making a mistake and being imperfect was so great that my brain preferred to dissociate from my body so that I wouldn't even be able to do it. And for 6 months, I had to talk to myself. And I had to explain to myself a few things. And this is what I want to get into specifically with you guys. I decided a few things. Number one, I decided that the purpose of pole dance in my life was to express what I saw inside me, because I see the choreographies in my head, and that I was going to give myself and be and do everything I wanted to, no matter how taboo it was for other people, or whether other people understood or not, or even if I wasn't being the strongest or the most flexible or this or that. And I had to tell myself for 6 months, every time I touched the handle of my door, I'm going inside to give myself pleasure and to express what I see inside me. I am not here to be what other people tell me to be. And then I had to have another approach as well. Since my mind would dissociate from my body every time I would try a move, I would talk to myself for 6 months, and I would need to actually comfort my nervous system, have it calm down. And I do this by touching myself. I always yearned to be touched a lot when I was a kid, and I find as an adult, if I touch myself, I calm down. And I would talk to myself because I was scared shitless that if I made a mistake, I would be, I don't know, I felt like my whole world was going to fall apart. You know, perfectionism does that. You think your whole world is going to fall apart because you flunk a test, or because you can't do a move. It's so retarded. And I would tell myself, Tari, you're here to have fun. You're here to be a child again. You're here to make mistakes. That's why you're here. That's why you have this little mini pole studio at home. So you can fall down and get bruised and then make mistakes and laugh at yourself. And I did this for 6 months. And eventually, I trained my mind to treat pole dance as my sacred space where I could fully be myself and express myself. And always, 100% of the time, love and forgive myself. I forbade myself from being judgmental in my pole room. So this is how pole dance saved my life. It sounds kind of weird, but it really did. Pole dance and the YouTube channel. Why? Because I did the same thing with the YouTube channel. You guys think I wanted to talk about such a heavy topic when I started out? It's, you know, such a taboo issue. I didn't want to do this, talk about narcissistic mothers. But because there was something inside of me that was whispering to me, hey, I want to express myself. Just like the dancing, it was whispering to me for 3 years, hey, I want to express myself. Why don't you let me express myself? And something said, do the video. Do the video. And I just forgave myself and created a safe space and said, okay, I have a distorted self-image. I don't know my worth. I don't know how I can impact other people. So I'm just going to do the damn video and express what is inside me without judgment. And I put the video out. I didn't look at the comments for 24 hours. And lo and behold, I discovered that the things that were whispering for existence inside of me, when they were put out into the world, because I wasn't trying to be perfect, I simply made expression the end goal, I discovered they were useful for other people, that they could be beautiful. And I discovered that I was made of light. That I was so scared for so many years to discover what was inside of me, because what if mom was right? But she wasn't. She was just projecting her self-image. Okay? So people, what I want to ask you guys is, and then we'll wrap this up. I want to know, do you have an activity in your life that is routine? Because it took me 6 months to retrain this, okay? So what's the routine activity you have in your life? Sylvia, I don't know how to pronounce your name, if it's Ida, but you tell me how to pronounce it later on. Where you can simply make expression of what's inside of you the goal and not perfection. Do you have something like that? Where can you just have fun and be a child and make mistakes? If you don't have that, I promise you, if you start having a routine situation where the point is to love yourself and make mistakes and express what's inside of you fearlessly, you are going to retrain so much stuff that you can't even imagine. Simply actively choosing an activity to love yourself and forgive yourself and express yourself. It retrains stuff, okay? It reprograms stuff. So that's what I want to ask you guys. So let me know if you had any insights while you were watching this video. Write them down in the comments. I love reading your guys' insights. I love reading your feedback. I love reading how the videos are impacting you. Let me know if you want any more information on this. For you guys who are going to watch this on the YouTube channel, subscribe if you liked what we were talking about. We can keep on chatting. Share the video if you thought it might be useful to someone else. Like it. And I also have a mailing list that you can subscribe to. It's in the description. The link is in the description of this video. You can just sign up right there. And I also do one-on-one consulting. So if you're interested in the way that I work, get in touch with me, and we can schedule an alignment call to see if we're a good fit. That's it, guys. Thank you for participating, and see you next time.